Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this exciting webinar. With us is Anne Jackson. Anne brings an experience in all levels and types of educational settings, including educational publishing, and now a nonprofit higher ed academy. She has managed large course development projects and designed courses for online, face-to-face, as well as blended courses, and also has had the opportunity to develop and integrate many types of multimedia activities. Today, she is going to help us understand how purposeful practice can improve performance with game-based interactions. Welcome, Anne, and over to you.
Thank you. Let me share my screen with you. When I was preparing this, I found out that saying the title of this is quite a mouthful, Purposeful Practice to Improve Performance. Let's go ahead and get started. So what kind of practice is productive? There's many forms of practice, but I believe there's three main things that contribute to making practice very productive. It must be purposeful, must be deliberate, and it must include timely feedback. So what do we mean by that? For practice to be purposeful, it needs to be aligned to the skills and knowledge that you're teaching at that time. So in many cases, the publishers of textbooks or pre-purchased programs come with already prepared practice activities. Although they may align to the content in the text, they may not necessarily focus on the objectives that you are trying to cover in your course. And I found that to be true in many cases. Therefore, it's really best to create your own practice activities that you can focus then on the content and skills that align to your specific objectives. And then to be deliberate, practice must include tasks that are repeated with the goal of improving performance. So such as practicing vocabulary, specific terminology, writing an essay, using any particular strategy to solve a problem. So if you're teaching a specific strategy or trying to teach new vocabulary, this kind of practice is very productive. Sorry.
Hey, Anne, if you're sharing your screen, it's not yet visible.
Sorry about that. My dogs, somebody came to my door. To be very deliberate, you also have to cover the new content in class and then provide students with practice before they're given an assignment where they're evaluated on that content. I know many times in many of the experiences that I've had, teachers will cover the content, have the student read the textbook, and then the first thing they do is give them an assignment where they're actually evaluated on that, understanding that content. Well, with any new skill, practice is required to improve your performance. So there has to be some kind of deliberate practice where students are able to interact with that information or practice that skill before they're actually, oh, my screen didn't share. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back to that.
And then if you want to share your video as well, that would be good.
Now is it sharing? How about that?
I can see your video now, but not the screen. So you may like to share your screen as well with the presentation?
I am sharing my screen. It says that I am. Let me see. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry.
Yes, now we can see.
There we go. Okay. I'm not as used to Zoom as I am to Teams, but this is, now I am. Okay. So again, back to being deliberate, it's just really important that we provide this kind of practice before students are evaluated. And then the third thing is that for practice to be productive, there must be some timely feedback. It needs to be as immediate as possible. And this kind of feedback then provides guidance. It corrects any kind of misconceptions. It provides reinforcement. So it's important to provide that feedback. Let me move to the next slide. So how does purposeful practice increase performance? There's many ways that students have to perform. There's information that should be automated so that they can perform more complex tasks, such as, we always encourage students in elementary school to memorize their math facts or to be able to define specific terms. That also continues throughout school. For instance, we do a lot of, I work with a lot of medical courses, and if they don't know the terminology, then they're focused on understanding what the words mean, as opposed to being able to focus on a more complex task. So if we look at practice, sometimes this kind of practice is called skill and drill. And even though that tends to have a negative connotation, this kind of practice can really be beneficial when students need to memorize information or memorize the steps in a specific technique. So if a process requires several steps, the steps can be memorized in the correct order so that then they can focus on the complex task of completing the steps accurately rather than focusing on, okay, now what step comes next? It's also important for students to have practice applying these memorized information. So if you just have students memorize a bunch of terms and then they're never put into practice or they don't use them, they're not gonna stay in their memory. Or if you have them learn the steps of a routine or a task, but then they're never really asked to apply them, then that doesn't become internalized. So for practice to be beneficial, the content has to be practiced enough for the information to be internalized. It also increases, once they practice it over and over, it increases their skill and their speed. So in the healthcare field, for instance, if you had students that didn't know the medical terms and they're in the middle of a conversation or performing a task, they're not going to have time to stop and look up that medical term or look up what step comes next. That needs to be practiced and applied regularly so that they can perform the more complex tasks that they're asked to do. So automation frees up the brain to complete more complex work. So, and also, can you imagine going to have your blood drawn by someone who's only read about it in a textbook or heard a lecture about it without ever actually practicing doing it? It's also the same for any kind of other tasks, like writing an essay or filling out forms or performing calculations. They need to be able to practice those steps so that those steps become internalized and they know what to do next without having to focus on the actual process, and they can focus on the content. This kind of practice moves the information from short-term memory to long-term memory. If they just read the information in the text or hear it in class and they don't have a lot of opportunities to interact with that content or those skills, it just remains in short-term memory and is soon forgotten. Practice like this also gives students a thorough understanding of the content, and it gives them an opportunity to review and practice it over time. So this builds deeper understanding and it builds confidence in students. You wouldn't, if they read the text and then they're immediately assessed on it without being able to practice it, they don't have the confidence of being able to perform those tasks or understand that knowledge thoroughly. So let's look at, there we go. How does game-based practice fit into this? So if you have students, if you have children of your own, or you've played games on your phone or computer, you know how addictive those things can be. This is mainly because they include the elements of competition and also some kind of scoring. And you can improve your score by practice and practice and practice. So by applying this competition and scoring to instructional content, learning games can provide this kind of purposeful practice. This type of practice also provides the opportunity of what we call spaced retrieval. And there's a lot of research that shows that if students practice content and are quizzed on it or tested on it over a long period of time, which is the exact opposite of cramming for a test, that they learn the content much better. So if they're read a little bit of the chapter and then they do some gaming and take some quizzes in the games based on that content, that helps them learn the content more thoroughly and understand it more deeply rather than reading the whole chapter, then doing one assignment. So also by creating game-based practice based on the objectives, you're able to check their understanding and reinforce the content and make sure that you're really achieving those objectives other than just providing practice based on content, which really may not be the focus of what the objectives are guiding you to. Oh, let's see. Okay. So with any new initiative, you can start small. So how can you design them? So first, just create a few practice games. You don't need to start with 20 or 30 or think that everything that you do has to have practice built into it. So you can add a little bit of practice as you go. So start small, then add some more and add some more and add some more. But when creating any kind of practice activities, you always want to start with the objectives. Then you think about what is the objective asking the students to do and determine which of those objectives can best be met by doing this repeated practice. There are times also when objectives require prerequisite skills that could be reviewed with game-based practice. So for instance, if you've taught a lesson on note-taking in the past, and now you're just asking students to apply it again in a new area, then it would be beneficial to have some kind of practice to review those strategies and activate their prior knowledge before they're actually completing the note-taking assignment. And we all know that in today's classes, you have so much content you have to cover. There's so many objectives that have to be met that there really isn't a lot of time to do all of that, and we're pressured to keep moving. And so by creating a lot of game-based practice, you can have students do that on their own. So you can present the material, talk about the material, discuss the material, skills, processes, those kinds of things in class, but then they can provide this practice for themselves outside of class using digital learning games. And then once you've determined what objective you want students to practice, then you kind of decide what kind of game or activity best would provide that practice. So for instance, if you're doing a memorization of math facts or math formulas, there's a lot of formulas that you need to know in math if you're going to do algebra or those kinds of things. And if you have those formulas memorized, then it's much easier to complete the task than if you have to go back and continually look up those formulas. So that kind of thing is, you can use those games to really firm those formulas in their mind so that they're really automated. And then you create a game incorporating the feedback for the practice. So we can look at a few examples of just some simple games that I have created. Let me go to, so this one is on organizations. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay. I think it's loading. I hope it's loading. Let me go here. Okay. Okay, so here's one called Balloon Pop, and you can do this to test general knowledge. So you hover your cursor on the bow and aim the arrow for a balloon. So let's look at that. So if you aim your arrow up here to, if you click on the information, it provides you a tip or a bit of information, and then the balloon of the same color has a question. So if you want to just try to answer the question without having the review information, you can just click on the one with the question mark. So then you get a question. So which type of performance is becoming more important in today's economy? Creative task performance, routine task performance, or adaptive task performance? So I know that that's the right answer, and you hit submit. But if you want to do one with information first, you click on the one with the information icon, and it gives you that information first. So organizational behavior is a field of study devoted to understanding, explaining, and ultimately improving the attitudes and behaviors of individuals and groups and organizations. So there you've gotten the information, and then you can go in here and ask the question and see if. So what is the field of study devoted to? So we know that that's organizational behavior. You can just continue that way. So you can either do the information, or you can do the, do the questions themselves. So you can see that you can ask any kinds of questions to, this is really a review of vocabulary and concepts related to behavioral organizational behavior. So let's just see. So you notice you get bonus points here if you do the question without clicking on the information first. So if you click on the information first and review it, and then answer the question correctly, you get points for answering the question correctly, but you don't get the bonus points. Let's just try one more. Oop, I missed. So here, what is based on task performance, citizenship behavior, and counterproductive behavior? That is job performance. Let me do one incorrectly just to see what it does. So it takes away their bonus points, and it shows you what answer is correct and what answer is incorrect. So that provides that immediate feedback. And see, you got, here's your score. And then you can restart the game, or you can go back. And this is in my way here. Well, that's what I want to, I don't know if this will work again or not. So this one is one I created for medical terms. Let's move that wherever I need to go back this way. This one is based on a bowling game. So choose the correct medical term for the definition to earn a strike. So which of these means pertaining to the interior or lining of an artery? Let's just click that one and see what happens. Nope. So I get to roll the ball, but I'm not going to get a strike. So then the next one located behind the peritoneum, that is this one, I believe. Nope. So I get a roll again, but I don't get a strike. So let's just see if I can get a strike. Loss of absence or mobility in a joint or disease. That is that one, I'm pretty sure. Yay, so now I got that one correct. It shows me the feedback there, and now I get a strike. And then another one that I did was, if you have the right, this is a writing process review, so you can join a couple of these together. So this is the review of the information. So it's just walking students through the writing process steps, just a review. So it's telling them what kinds of things you do during the planning stage, what kinds of things you do when you're writing the draft, when you're revising, when you're editing and proofreading, and then when you're publishing your essay. And then once they've done that review, then they can go here and do a little review here. And the way this game works is it's reach your goal faster. You look at the point value. Your goal is to get to 50 points. So you can choose whether you want an easier question that only a 10 points or a more difficult question that has 20 points to get to 20 points faster. So let's try a 20-point one. So it stopped there on 20 points. So which step is the most helpful in ensuring that your writing is organized and includes all the needed information? That would be the planning stage. So I got that right. So I got 20 out of 50. Then if I want to do another one for 20, at what stage are you following the plan you created? That would be writing a draft. So I'm already at 40 points. So I can either do a more difficult question again, or I can just do a 10-point question. So let's look at the 10-point question. The last step in the writing process is publishing. So once you get it correct, it says, congratulations, you've reached your goal. Gives you your score, how much time it took you. Oh, I don't think I did. Okay, so you can also see if I go to interactions. This is on the Raptivity website. It shows you all the different games that they have. These are the ones that I created. So you can preview it here as the one that they've created as an example, which is basically the same as what I showed you. And then you can select the game, and this walks you through how to set up the game. So there's your start screen. And then your information for the first slide goes here. You can copy and paste it in there. You can type it in there, whatever information you want to go in one of the information balloons. And then your question for that same information balloon goes next. Just put your question there. You can type or paste in. If you only want 3 options, you can delete one. If you want more options, you can add another option. So by being able to enter all of your own content, you can focus in on exactly what you want to accomplish with your objectives and focus on those. And you can give correct answer feedback. You can give a simple, nice job, or type more information in here. Then you give your incorrect answer feedback. You can either just tell them the correct answer. You can give an explanation here as to why that answer is incorrect, or why the answer, the correct answer is correct. Then you move on to the second one. You can add audio if you want to. So the second one, you add the information for the next balloon with the eye on it. And then you just continue that way. So here's the question and how that works. So they're very simple to create. They're able, you can focus on your content as opposed to using some predetermined content. Another one that I wanted to show you is this is already created. This is their example. You're able to use this, you know, as is if it's applicable to what you're doing. And then you can also create your own. So this is more of a hot spot, and they walk through the office, and then you click on a hot spot. So here it's giving you information about data, you know, how to do data security and not to leave anything unattended. So this is all related to security, related to digital security. So it keeps walking through. Come on. There you go. There's a second hotspot. Keep food and drinks away from workstations and avoid accidental spills. Keep walking. There's another hotspot. So as you can see, it just takes you through this, giving you all the review information about security related to digital information. There's another hotspot. So there's hotspots throughout. And you can, of course, change this to, like in my case, I've used this before and put a medical office in here and then just highlighted different areas of the medical office and what their purpose is. And then you can start an assessment. So what should you do when you're leaving the workstation? Leave it open, lock your system, lock your screen. So let's just say that. You need to transfer data from your system. So you can see you do the review and then you're able to actually quiz yourself and let's just see. Quiz yourself and get immediate feedback on how you did understanding that content. So here it gives you how much time it took you, what your score was, and you can either view feedback or you can restart the assessment. So these are easy to create. If you go back to here and do select, you can see that it's set up for you. You just upload your background. You determine where you want the hotspots. You determine the hotspot font setting, how you want the assessment laid out, and then you create your assessment. You can add audio if you want to. You can change the fonts. So they're very easy to update or customize for what content you want. And you can see here, there's a wide variety of activities and all of them give you a preview of what the activity looks like once it's completed. And then there's where you can select it and customize it. And they all include this, how to customize, which is nice. It gives you information about how to customize. So then I have more information. I can send out this PowerPoint if you would like me to, or I just did a search. You can do a search on game-based practice in higher ed. There's lots of information out there on how to do that. So I'll stop now and see if anyone has any questions. Let's see, stop sharing. Put this over here. Is there any questions that I can answer for anybody or anything you'd like to see again or more information on anything? I see there's some things in the chat. Let me look at those. Okay. Do you think you can also help us? Yes, you can change out the images on the games. You can choose your own images. Do you think you can also help us in content gamification? I'm not sure what that's asking. Can you give me a little more information about what you're asking there? Okay, how do I change out images? Let me show you. Okay, let me share my screen again. There we go. So right here, the background, you would just go here and you upload new. You can upload whatever images you want. For instance, in the, you would have to have one that's specifically, created for this as an office out, looks like an office or looks like something that the person is walking through. If you look at the, oh my work. The one I did on the writing process. Let's do edit. These images, I changed these images. You just click on the edit button, then you can choose one you've already uploaded, or you can click on upload new and choose your file. You can add alternate text, and then just once you've chosen the file, you just click upload and it places it right there. So each one, it'll give you that information also in the how to customize. Yeah, there are a lot of gamification elements that you can add. This is just having a game-based activity is just part of them. You could add lots of, you can have awards and leaderboards, things like that, that have more of the gamification. You can have gamification include several kinds of games and activities, practice activities, and encapsulate that into some kind of gamification elements. Can you pay for developers to develop something for you specifically? I'll leave that up to someone at Raptivity to answer that one. Do you have customized development? Anybody from Raptivity listening, can you answer the question if you can have them customized? I'm sure there's contractors that you can pay. I'm just not sure if.
So yeah, and currently we have a user gallery where the interactions created by users are uploaded selectively, which we are there. But currently there is no program where we are paying the developers. So currently as a community, once they create in their free account, then some select interactions are displayed in the user gallery on the website.
Okay, thank you. Can someone in Raptivity tell me whether there is further discount for users from developing countries?
Yeah, so currently the back to school discount is going on, and Raptivity is available at a discounted price. So we really don't separate as developing and developed, but it is available at very attractive pricing currently under the back to school specials.
Any other questions? Anything else you'd like to see? Okay, well, that's all I have. If Raptivity would like to add anything additionally to that, or if you need me to show anything else, I'm happy to do that. Let me see.
Well, thank you, Anne, for the insights you shared. It was wonderful to know how Raptivity's different game-based interactions can be used to design effective, purposeful practice. So thank you very much for that. And thank you, attendees, for your time. We will soon.
Do you know if there's a way I can put the PowerPoint in the chat or not?
Sure. So we will soon share the recording with our attendees, and then
Okay.
maybe we can share the PowerPoint with that as well. So we'll
Great.
take care of that. And for the attendees, meanwhile, you can check the unique interactions gallery at raptivity.com. So I think that's all from us today. And thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.